Lights on the horizon, and I'm trying to find my way back home on my own. But I don't know who I'm supposed to be finding. Is somebody lying? 'Cause I was told I would meet my maker, but now I'm just walking with the Savior tonight. But now I'm just walking with the Savior tonight. Open your doors, don't make no noise.
Hello, welcome to the show. Today we have Shattering the Narrative with Sheila, my co-host, and me, CJ. Today we have a great special guest, a friend of mine, Daniel Diaz of Sovereign Gold and Silver Exchange. So a little while ago, he told me he was gonna have a new store, and I was like, "Well, what's this new store all about?" And maybe you can explain a little bit about what you guys do over there. By the way, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on. Yeah. So our company name is Sovereign Gold and Silver Exchange, but I'm also the executive director of Citizens for Sound Money. And that's really where the idea of selling gold and silver started because our mission is to promote the use of sound money and to protect people's rights to do so. And we believe at Citizens for Sound Money that only gold and silver are money and everything else is currency or credit. And what is sound money? Well, it's gold and silver. And what is the difference between, say, currency and money? And the difference is what Adam Smith from the Wealth of Nations categorized money as. There's three characteristics of money. The first is a unit of account. Anything can be unit of account. My hat, a dog, a pen, nothing special about that. The other is a medium of exchange. Anything can be a medium of exchange as well. You know, the unit of account, 2 hats, 4 dogs, whatever. A medium of exchange, anything can be a medium of exchange. The difference between, let's say, currency and money, as Adam Smith defined it, was a long-term store value.
Oh, I don't know where he went, CJ.
Wow, I think we must have got hacked. It seems like he disappeared here.
You know, once you start
back.
talking about silver and gold,
Yeah,
it is.
there he goes.
Yep.
There he goes. He's the expert. We got to hear from him. All right, we got.
It's so the if you had $100 5 years ago, can you buy the exact same thing you could have with those $100 today? No. If you had an ounce of silver or an ounce of gold, could you buy the exact same thing 5 years ago or today as you could 5 years ago? The answer is yes. In fact, you can go back 100 years and you can buy the exact same thing or more with an ounce of gold and silver than you can with a $100 bill. And that is the difference. So our organization goes around the country and really helps people around the world to make gold and silver legal tender, giving people the option to put their what we call economic energy into something that preserves it versus loses it. And the dollar and the euro and the yen does not preserve your economic energy. It leaks it, and it leaks it through inflation. And inflation is defined as the printing and expansion of the currency supply. So it's just supply and demand. The more something you have,
I got a question. What's the difference between inflation and counterfeiting?
Inflation is literally just printing more currency. It's just more, the government's printing it into oblivion. Or in gold and silver terms, inflation of gold and silver is the rate that they pull gold and silver out of the ground, out of the earth. Counterfeiting is where they take, so let's say, a silver coin and then make a fake without real silver, right? So I have some counterfeit coins in the front that I just keep when people bring them in. I'm like, "Do you want this? It's worth nothing." He's like, "No, keep it." So I have a fake gold Krugerrand, I have a fake Morgan dollar, I have a fake silver eagle. And there's ways that you can tell how they're faked based on the diameter. So the difference between counterfeiting is basically making a fake. Same thing with a dollar. When you counterfeit a dollar, you don't have all the security features. Inflation is just making more of something that is legitimate. So that's the difference between counterfeiting and inflation.
It's a fiat currency we're talking about, right? Is that legitimate currency? I guess it's legitimate right now, but maybe in the future it might not be legitimate currency. Who knows?
Well, currency can be anything as well. Like you can write script. Like Disney World had Disney currency or the Disney dollar, or you can have there's like 100 communities in the United States that have their own private currency. So fiat currency is the difference between is the word fiat is the Latin word for by decree. So currency in the United States or Europe or anywhere else in the world, it has only the face value because the government says that's the face value. And that's where the problem is.
Mhm.
Before 1971 or before 1972, and really the end of 1971, our currency was backed by real money. Our currency was backed by gold and silver. For example, this is a silver dollar. This is a peace dollar. It's not a full ounce of silver, but we used to have silver certificates, and you could take your dollar to the bank when we're on the silver standard and say, "Give me my dollar," right? Because a dollar was silver. This is a silver dollar. And today, if you want to buy this exact same silver dollar that was only one currency unit, now you would need to pay $70 to get this exact same peace dollar that was only worth one. That's a 7,000% loss in purchasing power. Same thing with a um, $20 bill. You used to be able to get a $20 gold piece, which is just shy of an ounce of gold. You take that $20 gold certificate to the bank, they give you an ounce of gold. Today, you would need 230 $20 bills to get that exact same piece of gold. And that's what inflation is. They print more of it, it loses value, and that's really theft. Inflation is theft of the purchasing power of the people.
Almost like counterfeiting, almost pretty similar to counterfeiting your
It's
money.
it's, it's
Well,
similar, yeah.
they passed a law in the 70s, like you were saying, that the currency, it was going to be a petrodollar. And it was going to be traded based on I think, the price of oil, right? Isn't that why it's called the petrodollar? I don't know.
It
Question.
was called the petrodollar because there were some geopolitical issues with Saudi Arabia and like Iran and threats. So what happened, Henry Kissinger went over to the crown prince of Saudi Arabia and struck a deal with Saudi Arabia and said, listen, we will provide all military protection and provide military support to Saudi Arabia if you promise to only accept dollars for oil. So that's why it was called the petrodollar. It was backed by gold, and then you could kind of say it was backed by oil because the only way any other country in the world could buy oil was by getting dollars, which basically was a way for the United States Federal Reserve to export our inflation. The world reserve currency, the fact that we don't have hyperinflation, which we're kind of starting to see now, because right now real inflation is closer to 11.5% year over year compounded. That's not hyperinflation, but I think we're going to be getting there soon because of the way precious metals are going up. And it's not that precious metals are going up. What's really happening is the dollar is losing value. Because if you had, let's say, I think it was 260 ounces of gold back in 19 no, I think it was 260. I might be wrong. In 1978, you could buy an average home. The average home was $73,000. Today, the average home was around $560,000, and you can buy a home with less than 260 ounces of gold, right? So it's maybe like 180 ounces, maybe 190 ounces of gold. And it's because gold and silver are money and maintain the purchasing power. The petrodollar, oil is a commodity. Copper is a commodity. Commodities are real and tangible. Fiat currency is just imaginary numbers in a computer that they're printing. What you have in the bank, the minute you deposit currency into the bank, it's not there anymore. They take that currency and they lend it out to somebody getting a car loan, lend it out to somebody getting a mortgage, or they start trading it in the Forex trade. What they put in place of the currency you deposit is called something called bank credit. Those numbers you see in your bank account isn't US dollars. Your bank literally took those dollars and invested it somewhere else and put a promise, an IOU saying, hey, we're putting numbers in here that we're promising we'll be able to pay you back if you decide to withdraw, and that's
So, so,
fraction.
so why would you want to? Why would you want to educate the world about this? What reasoning? What's it benefiting you? Why would you want to educate people on this?
Because we say at Citizens on Money that gold and silver are freedom, because the government can't just print gold and silver into oblivion. They can't continue endless wars. They can't have welfare programs, because the only way they could do that was through taxing and collecting gold and silver and then distributing that. It would force it constrain gold and silver constrains the power of government. And paper currency, fiat currency, there's no constraints. It's like a drunken sailor constantly drinking and staying drunk so that prevent the hangover. And they just keep printing and printing and printing. You can have endless wars. You can have endless welfare programs. In fact, fiat currency, the whole system of central banks, the brainchild behind that was Karl Marx. He talked about how central banking and controlling the currency is the best way to steal the wealth of the people and to control the people.
Okay, so we find ourselves in a very dangerous situation right now, because as people are listening to us, and I myself, and I'm sure both of you, we have money in our banks. We depend on the banking system to pay our bills. And so with your foundation or your organization, do you see a softer, easier way to move back into backing this dollar with silver and gold? Because the way I hear it, it's always doom and gloom. Like the market's almost at what, 5,000? It's reaching 5,000. Are we going to see a crash? Like, where do you see us going?
There are a lot of economists. One of them is James Rickard. He has done currency war games with the CIA, the Department of Defense, back in the mid 2010s. And what they did, and what he's predicted, was that what China and Russia have been doing since really 2008 was to wage a war against the dollar. And we see that through BRICS. We see that we went from 72% of the world reserve currency to now we're barely over 50%. In fact, now, a few months ago, if you take the Federal Reserve out of the equation, the number one currency in the world, that is the world reserve currency, is gold. All the central banks around the world are hoarding gold. That's why gold's skyrocketing. The central banks around the world are buying up gold, they're buying up silver, and there's a silver and gold shortage because they're trying to devalue the dollar. There's a reason why Trump's doing what he's doing. He's going after Venezuela, he's going after Greenland, and he's not hiding it. He's going after resources. The next world war is going to be a world war of resources. And because that's going to be the future currency. The future currency, this whole global economy that we've had for 55 years now, it's an experiment that's coming to the end. It's the first time in human history that the entire planet has been on a fiat currency. Prior to that, there have been over 6,000 countries or regions that have had a fiat currency. And guess how many of those currencies still exist? None. They've all gone down to zero. And this
So how do we mildly, I mean, what you're saying is pretty frightening, and what?
It's the truth.
Yes, I agree. But I'm just wondering, is there a softer way to back the dollar with silver? Like today is a holiday, right? It's Martin Luther King's birthday, and tomorrow the banks are going to open. But what I did get an email from somebody that the mint has increased the price of silver overnight. It hasn't even hit the banks and the market tomorrow. Why did the mint reprice silver? I think at double the price, actually. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's not that they repriced the price of silver. They're out of silver. The minute the 2026 silver eagles, American silver eagles, came out, they were gone the same day, and they're 1 to 2 months behind. By law, they have to mint the amount of silver that that the people are demanding, and they're demanding a lot of silver, and they don't have enough. And the prices have been skyrocketing so fast, they took down all their products, and they had to reevaluate everything because they were losing what's called numismatic value. Numismatic value is value above the price of the silver. Now, those coins that you see that are 168 and 173, those aren't just regular coins in a tube. Those are, where are they? They're commemorative coins. They're silver eagles, but they come in a nice packaging. Hold on, let me show you.
So my question is, why isn't any of this in the news? You know, if a precious metal like silver is a critical, now all of a sudden it's a critical, you know, mineral list, all that kind of stuff. Wouldn't this be in the news? I mean, didn't they know this for the past year? Did it just all of a sudden we ran out of silver, or they knew this and they weren't telling us?
It's been in the news. I mean, Bank of America last Monday is predicting that silver is going to hit $309 an ounce. It has been in the news for years. I mean, if you just type in silver squeeze or dollar debasement, when the mainstream media is talking about dollar debasement, which is what we in the sound money movement have been saying for decades, since we got off the gold and silver standard, Ron Paul and everybody in the sound money movement has been decrying the end of the dollar because you can't print currency into oblivion. Here, look, do an experiment when we're off this broadcast. Look up the Weimar Republic, the Deutschmark, how many Deutschmarks it took to buy one gold mark. One gold mark is the equivalent of like 0.3 ounces of gold, and you'll start seeing a trend. The Deutschmark, it went hyperbolic. How many Deutschmarks you needed to purchase one, like let's call it a third of an ounce of gold. And if you overlay the amount actually not the amount, the price of gold in dollars, it's almost exactly the little dips in the 1913s and 19 sorry, the 1920, it's almost exactly the same. We're starting to see a hyperinflation of the dollar against gold and silver because you can't think of the dollar as money, it's currency. You have to think of gold and silver as the central monetary unit of which all other assets measure itself. You have to measure the ratio of an ounce of gold and an ounce of silver against the Nasdaq, against the S&P 500, against real estate. When you do that and you start thinking as gold and silver is money and everything else is just an asset measured against it, and then you start measuring the currencies, every single fiat currency is following the same trend. And at the end of the Deutschmark, you could take a wheelbarrow of Deutschmarks to the bakery, and you couldn't even get a loaf of bread.
Okay,
I mean,
so yeah, so
our founding fathers experimented with the exact same thing. And that's why they put gold and silver in the Constitution. Look at what Jefferson said was the problem with the continental dollar. Jefferson wrote a research when they were writing the Constitution, wanting to understand what happened to the continental. There's a phrase that George Washington is attributed to saying that it ain't worth the continental because he couldn't even buy shoes for the Continental Army. They printed. Benjamin Franklin thought it was a good idea to print paper that said you can redeem this in the Bank of Pennsylvania or the Bank of Delaware or whatever for X amount of gold and silver. Well, it failed miserably. It caused one of the worst financial collapses in the colonial times during the war. And the founding fathers wanted to prevent that. And they created the Coinage Act of 1792, defining a dollar by a certain amount of grains of silver and certain amount of grains of gold. And they said that the states in Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution have the constitutional right to declare only gold and silver coin as legal tender for the payment of debts. Our founding fathers hated paper currency. Supreme Court cases in 1870, they used the greenback to pay the Union soldiers, and they didn't have enough gold and silver. So Lincoln approved the greenback. It was brought to the Supreme Court in 1870. The Supreme Court struck it down and saying the greenback was unconstitutional because only gold and silver was money according to the founding fathers. And you know what Ulysses S. Grant did the following year? because he didn't like that, because he wanted to use greenbacks to pay off the debt of the United States. He stacked the courts with 2 Supreme Court justices, and then they said that greenbacks were constitutional.
Seems very familiar on what's happening in today's world with politics and the dollar. And I keep bringing it back to, I don't want to see, and I don't think anybody wants to see the dollar crash, right? And we don't want to see our investments in commodities.
Exactly.
We
Exactly.
don't-
So you have investments. What about retirements? You have a lot of people in Florida here that they've retired. They have a fixed income. They have a certain amount of money that, let's say they have $1 million, whatever they're trying to retire. So what happens in 5 years to that they have a little bit of money in what's that going to be worth in 5 years if the dollar's not worth anything?
Nothing. It happened in 1929. Those who were smart went to the bank and pulled out their gold dollars and silver dollars and protected themselves from the Great Depression. Those who did not went to the bank. There was not enough currency. There was not enough gold. And people who did that were able to buy entire city blocks in New York for a fraction of the cost. It was the greatest wealth transfer in American history, the Great Depression. And those who got the wealth were those who were smart and pulled out their money in gold and silver. And there is no solution. The only thing that you can do is opt out of the system and start protecting yourself by putting your money in gold and silver. The stocks.
Well, here's the thing with one thing I do say and see about President Trump is that he went bankrupt in New Jersey with all the casinos, right? And he negotiated that and refinanced that. So, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I think that there is a place for credit in this world, and I think out of all the presidents we have right now, if he can I mean, he's got a lot on his hands, right? And we are dealing with the petrodollar, right? And we're dealing with the fact that it's not backed with silver and gold. So, negotiating and we're bankrupt basically. But again, we don't want to rush on the banks. We don't want people to come and be like, nothing is worth nothing. We have to work it into legislation and get to a place where we start backing the dollar. Like you said, it's tangible. We could be trading glasses. Whatever we believe is tender, right? So do you see negotiating the debt and the situation we're in now as a possible solution to ushering gold and silver to back the dollar?
Jim Rickard said that the only real way to save the dollar is to back it by gold and silver, 40%. And his solution is that because this is how the dollar worked, because the dollar was during Bretton Woods, every single country in the world pegged their currency to X amount of dollars because the dollar was good as gold, supposedly. So, but that didn't happen. We can't trust the government. They have failed us multiple times, and they've confiscated our gold 3 times in U.S. history: the War of 1812, Civil War in 1933. And they did that because the United States was bankrupt. And they took the gold of the people, reevaluated the currency, debased the currency, stealing the wealth of the people, and then they used their gold to pay off their debts. The U.S. government.
You make an excellent point there. Okay, so I mean, you're a gold and silver guy. I'm thinking that you may have a little bit of gold or silver. So what happens if the government wants to go ahead and says we want to seize that, we need it for whatever reason? What happens then? I mean,
Most people are going to comply. I mean, that's what happened every single time they try to confiscate. I'm not going to comply.
no, they're not.
Let's talk about, I bought myself some silver from you, and you were really informative. I had no idea about anything. So I'm holding up one of my pieces right here.
American Silver Eagle.
Okay, so we know the worth of it, right? The spot price is, you said, about 79. We'll see what
Not anymore.
Not
It's
anymore.
about 95.
Yep.
Whoop, I'm already doing well. Okay, so when we look at this, it looks so pristine. And what you taught me is there's circulated and uncirculated, and then there's imperfections. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, so uncirculated. So the American Silver Eagle you have, when it's nice and shiny and bright like this, there's
Yeah.
no toning, there's no brown. It's uncirculated, meaning it wasn't used as currency in the system. That is the case for this, because this was created not to be circulated. It was created to be an investment to protect and save. Now the circulated currency, like the peace dollar, the Morgan dollar, 90% dimes, silver dimes, quarters, half dollars. That was all in circulation. That was money for 6,000 years in human history. I mean, this is an experiment that has only lasted 50, 55, no, 50, yeah, 55 years now. And there's John Karopi is right. He's saying gold and silver is God's money. There's a reason why. There's something psychological on the mind of all men. Doesn't matter what region of the planet you are. When they see gold and silver, they see value. In India, it's inherent. In Turkey, it's inherent. Throughout the Middle East, gold and silver is money. It's just something psychological. God put that enough gold and silver in the earth to be used as currency for all human history. It's when the government gets greedy and the government wants to concentrate its wealth and control the people. They always do it by debasing the currency. We see that over and over and over. What the Ray Dalio has a great book, the changing world, or changing times. I forget what it is. He goes through every single empire in human history and the rise and fall, and they rise. The U.S. government, Great Britain, Spain, they all rose to power. In the peak of their power, they were using gold and silver, and they didn't dilute it with base metals. The minute that Rome, Greece, Great Britain, Spain debased their currency, it was the end of their empire. It was the end of their government. There is a direct correlation between individual liberty and individual freedom and the currency supply, and it being gold and silver. When the government confiscates gold and silver, liberties cease to exist. Our rights are taken away. And this sounds extreme, but I'm just quoting facts in history. You know,
Well,
it
Jesus said, when somebody said something about currency, I think he said, "Give Pontius Pilate, give Rome what is Rome's," or give. So
Yeah,
we're
of
talking about
course.
tax,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, um, JP Morgan did something very interesting the last couple of weeks before I came in to see you, which convinced me to come in and see you. Is they went. I think that they went long on silver. They were kind of doing what you said. They were hoarding all this silver, and then they were kind of doing like this fake, like we're going to get all this silver and then we're going to go long on it or something. And then I think they got penalized or punished financially. You
What the banks have been doing, like JP Morgan Chase, is historically, since we got on a fiat standard in 1971, the banks, at first it was the US government. So just a quick history lesson. When we were on the gold and silver standard, you had four countries that were keeping the gold currencies afloat. It was called the London gold pool. You had the UK, United States, France, and Britain, who were settling all dollars in gold and silver. And France, because of Charles de Gaulle, he realized that the United States was printing more dollars than there was gold. And France demanded all the gold to come out of the London pool, and they sent warships in New York to get all the gold. That when France pulled out of the London pool, Germany, the UK, and the United States tried to keep it afloat. That happened in 1968. They tried to keep afloat. They couldn't, because when Charles de Gaulle started raising the red flag, saying, "Hey, there's not enough gold in the vaults of the United States. We want our gold back, because only gold is money." That's what Charles de Gaulle said. And then Germany, UK, and France, and the US tried to keep it afloat, and they failed. In 1971, Henry Kissinger had to come up with a solution, because the entire Bretton Woods economic system failed, because the United States was irresponsible and printed more currency than we had gold, and they came up with the petrodollar system. So look, it's it's not that I want the dollar to collapse because it's going to hurt millions of people, but it's a repeating cycle, and unfortunately, humans are not good students of history, and we always
Yeah.
repeat the failures of the past, and we never learn.
Yeah.
And
So then you're saying what comes next? It seems like in this cycle would be wars. So wars are fought over currency.
Every
Obviously,
time an empire falls, Rome, Spain, the UK, Belgium, every single time they go from the peak, Rome, there's major wars. Because look, good times. What is it? Hard times lead to.
weak
Uh,
men.
yeah, good times lead to weak men. Weak men lead to bad times. Bad times lead to strong men. Strong men lead to good times. Right? It's that
Yeah.
cycle. It's the same thing with nations.
Yeah.
The United
Yeah,
States.
now we have nukes. So who knows if that cycle might end this time?
Well, you see it in, I think, in Minnesota right now, right? So you were saying they were taking the dollar and they're doing all these welfare programs, right? And it's like they're just, it's disgusting. It's gotten to a saturation point. So that becomes like uproar in the streets, right? And they're trying to, in my opinion, divert from looking at the fraud that's there in Minnesota, the collapse of the infrastructure of the money there on all the people that just looked the other way and said, yeah, take it, start a daycare center, yeah, drug the kids, yeah, do all this stuff.
Mhm.
So that to me is the dollar we can't afford it. Somebody said, I thought it might have been Ron Paul. I loved him. He's still alive, but I used to do legislation with him, the Parental Rights Act. Anyway, he would say guns and butter during the debate. You can't do a war and, you know, serve your economy at the same time. It's called guns and butter. So that's what I'm kind of hearing you say. When you run out of the butter, you can't even do war, though, right? I mean, you need money to generate a war.
In a fiat standard, you can have endless wars. I mean, what do you think our taxes are used? When you pay your income tax, what do you think it's used for?
Fraud. You know,
But it's not to pay for government programs. It's not to pay for war. Our taxes are used to pay interest to the Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
When the U.S. Treasury issues a bond, it creates a debt. It's just a piece of paper saying, "Hey, we promise to pay you this much interest for in 5, 10, 1 month, whatever." Then who buys those bonds? Typically, it's the banks. The
right.
banks buy those bonds and they give currency to the Federal Reserve. And then what do the banks do? The banks then take those bonds in a repo market and sells it to the Federal Reserve. And the Federal Reserve then pays the banks an interest, and the Federal Reserve gets those bonds and prints new currency. And then guess who owns the Federal Reserve?
It's a private company, right?
The
It's
banks.
Oh, the banks only. Now, what would happen if they actually audited? Because Ron Paul really wanted it to be audit the Fed. I remember.
There's no way to audit the Fed because the Fed has a bank account with a zero balance. There's nothing to audit. It wasn't really to audit the Fed. What he was trying to highlight, Ron Paul, was the ludicrous reality that our monetary system is based on. The currency is you get a bond. The Treasury creates a bond, sells it in the markets. The banks buy that bond, and then they take it to the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve then gives a check to the banks that the banks cash, but that check has a zero balance on which to draw it because it just creates brand new currencies. Inflation, it's literally nothing. All 96% of all currency in the United States in existence is bank credit. The money that you're putting into the bank, it's just bank credit, and because they're taking that and creating a loan. I'm a bank.
Mhm.
You put $100 in the bank. All right, I'm the bank. I take that and I loan $100 to somebody else. Now there's $200 in existence. I get those $100. I buy a car. The person who I bought the car from deposited in his bank. Now, they take that second $100 and the bank lends that out. Now there's $300 in existence off of an initial $100 deposit, and this happens over and over and
Yeah, but it
over.
almost makes you think we should get rid of banks because it doesn't seem like it's helping us much, and it seems almost illegal to be doing that.
It is a fraud. The
What do
entire
you think?
monetary system is a fraud that steals the wealth of the people.
Okay, what do you think about Trump's announcement that he wanted interest rates on credit cards to be reduced?
I love it.
Yeah,
It's
it's
absolutely
okay.
great.
I guess be a lot more than 10%. It's still pretty high. I mean, realistically,
But do
think.
you think that? Oh, and then one other thing I want to ask about him is that he had mentioned going to Fort Knox to see if the gold was there, but then that never happened. Do you think
What
there's
my
actual gold in Fort Knox?
what my sources in the Trump administration told me was it is the biggest investigation that the Secret Service is doing, because when they went to Fort Knox, they realized it wasn't all there and they sent out a memo. The White House has an emergency memo that can send the entire media. And they told the media to stop reporting on it for national security purposes. And they're trying to figure out what happened to the gold.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah,
You,
yeah. People have
you,
known this for a while. People have known
that's a
this for
good
a while.
source.
Yep. I
Okay.
can't say who the source is, but this
No.
person meets with Trump regularly. He's appointed by Trump to be on a specific task force.
Mhm.
Breaking
That's
on Shattering the Narrative. Breaking news right now. Thank
Breaking
you for that.
news, there's missing gold in Fort Knox. I remember him saying, we're going to go there, and it was like kind of like Geraldo Rivera,
Then it was all quiet. Then it was all
instantly.
quiet.
And the only reason that happens is because the White House sent a memo to the media to stop it.
Mhm. Well, he's obviously aware of it. I mean, he's a man of great finance. You could say what you want about him. Personally, you like him whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, but he does have the ability to refinance debt. And I'm not saying that's the answer here. I'm saying that I love the fact that you're on with us tonight because nobody talks about this, and it's really important to talk about this and
Yeah.
to understand. I had no idea. I mean, everybody was saying, go buy silver. I was even telling my kids, I was like, go buy some silver. And I'm so glad I did, but can you tell the people that is it too late to get in? Is it tell us how
How do they get silver? Because let us know. Because now everybody just needs it, and now they know. How do they get it?
Well, I also have a coin shop that I just opened up, so they can come to us in Sebastian. It's called Sovereign Gold and Silver Exchange. We're located in 1128 US Highway 1 in Sebastian, Florida. And if you don't want to come here, if you're listening from somewhere else in the world, I recommend, because this is how we do our pricing. I'm very transparent on how we price things. There's a website called findbullionprices.com. Findbullionprices.com. It's an aggregator for all the major gold and silver dealers in the country. And then go find the product you want. And then you click on that product and it'll show you all the dealers that have those prices. It'll list it from the cheapest to the lowest. And what we do at our shop is we get the 3 cheapest online dealers, average out that price, and that's our price for the day.
Mhm.
Okay, and then in the second question, so you got it. So okay, everybody needs silver right now. It's established. Everybody needs it for security, for insurance, for their family, for their
And
livelihood,
gold. And
and
gold.
gold, of course. But the question is, okay, so you're running out of silver. We're running out of silver. I've heard of dealers are just they're not even selling it at this point. They're just holding it on to it. The biggest dealers in the world are doing this, and they're just not even going to. They're going to wait. They're just going to hold it. And why don't you do that? And will you do that?
It's the bullion banks, the COMEX, the
Yeah.
London, the LBMA, the London Bullion Market Association, I think is what the LBMA stands for. The major bullion banks that have the 1,000 ounce bars are running out because the entire monetary system, the futures contracts, that the spot price, those are futures contracts. It's not following the actual physical price. When you look online and say what's the silver price, that's not the physical price of silver. That's a futures contract for 30 days out. That's what they're predicting the price of silver. So you're buying a stock that's predicting the future of silver.
And that's
And
a good investment. I mean, I let me just ask you really quick on that. I have investments in gold mining companies,
Mhm.
and also I was talking to my guy, and because my friends were telling me you need physical, or it's no good. But then there are these ETFs, is that what they're called?
yeah,
Or okay, they invest in silver. They do have physical silver in their vaults and gold, and then you buy a portion of that.
here's how that works. The
Okay.
ETF. I'm an ETF company. I have 1 ounce of silver. I sell you this contract saying you have a claim to this silver.
Mhm.
Sheila, I give you this contract 1 to 1. Then CJ's like, hey, I want some silver. Great. I'll create another contract. You have a claim to the same silver. And then 10,000 other people have this contract saying they have the same claim to the silver. So most people just trade it, have the options contract expire, they lose or gain money. But what's happening now is that you, Sheila, are saying, I want that silver when my contract is done. CJ says, I want that silver when that contract is done. And then 2,500 people say, I want that silver. Well, I only have one piece of silver,
Well,
right?
they're certified. They have serial numbers on them. So
Yeah,
they don't. I don't think they sell. I hope that would be fraud if they were selling.
it's not. It's completely legal. Read the fine print. They say that if you claim the silver and they don't have it, they have the option to cancel your contract and pay you a fraction of the value.
Oh, that doesn't sound good.
That's why you need physical.
You do need physical. I mean, well, hopefully that doesn't happen because I have some of that ET. What is it?
It
ET.
happened in 1968 when we ended the gold and silver pool that was back in the US dollar. It's
Mm,
happened before.
mm.
It's
Yeah.
called the silver squeeze.
Yeah,
The
so this is important information. I mean, obviously the world needs to know this. So one more time, what is for their online to buy silver? How do they do that?
findbullionprices.com.
That's so helpful. That's so helpful. And then I really liked working with you because you're like so educational and you're not like trying to like, you know, cheat you, because if you're not familiar, I didn't know anything about silver and gold. Now tell me about the people that have been actually coming to your physical store. You said that they're coming from like all over.
I I was not expecting when I've been selling gold and silver for 3 years as a side hustle when I had my full-time job. I was not expecting the how busy our store would be. We have been opened officially since December 30th. That's almost 3 weeks now. And it has been nonstop. I can of the last almost 3 weeks, I can say we only had 3 or 4 slow days, and there hasn't been a single day where we didn't have a sale.
When
And
when I was in there, you had somebody on the phone. I think your partner was saying he wanted a little gold piece. And then I looked at it there. What was that gold piece again?
the gold piece was it?
It was a tiny one. It was old. It was,
Oh, it was this. I wear one.
oh, okay.
It's a 20 gold franc. It's
Oh,
0.1867 troy ounces. So I wear this. It's Napoleon Bonaparte the first. What people don't know about Napoleon Bonaparte was not only there was what we know about him, he hated the banks, and the bankers were actually financing the British to defeat Napoleon. In fact, after Napoleon lost the Battle of Waterloo, the I think it's King Louis the 16th or 15th that took over after him was installed by the bankers. The bankers were running France. So what Napoleon did when he conquered a new country was the first thing he did was he went to the banks to confiscate the gold. He was an anti-banking emperor, because he understood that what happened before Napoleon was that they created fiat currency that collapsed the economy of France, and it impoverished the people of France. That's why there was so much unrest. That's why they beheaded the king. So it's all monetary. Look, throughout human history, when civil war and revolution happens, is when 40% of the person's income is going towards food.
Yep.
That is the threshold of when we see civil wars and revolutions, and that
Food
is
and
true.
energy. Food and energy. And energy too, because it's the golden rule. It's the golden rule. He who has the gold makes the rule.
Makes the rules, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I love this coin, because what Napoleon Bonaparte did was he created the Latin Monetary Union. It was the first attempt to create equal weights and measures of coinage in different denominations that independent countries could make up with their own face and everything, versus the Roman Empire versus the Spanish Empire, where it was just one coin for the whole world. 66 countries officially joined the Latin Monetary Union, and they made the exact same coinage. So you can take a French coin to to like Italy or to Belgium and spend it, because they knew it was the exact same purity. And that's why I love it. It was a precursor to well, not a precursor, but it was the first decentralized attempt without a central authority controlling all the money. And that coin I showed you was a gold franc, 20 gold franc, and they have a very low premium compared to other gold, because so many countries joined it, and if they didn't join it, they mirrored the coinage. In fact, the U.S. coinage, the peace dollar, the dime, the half dollar, are all based off of the Latin Monetary Union coinage.
Wow. So you have also collectibles at your shop, and there's a big difference between that and then the other gold and silver tenders that you're. Wow, I have to tell you, your grasp on history. I mean, I sat in the back of the classroom, so I'm always fascinated when if somebody actually listened and understands or schooled themselves. What is do you have a degree in this, or is it?
I have a master's in government with a concentration in public administration and political theory, but I've been in finance for 20 no for no not 20 12 years now. I've been in finance for 12 years, and I'm just a student. Like the day I die, the day I stop learning is the day I die. And for me, because I'm Cuban American, I realized that one, monetary history is human history. You can actually, if you look at coinage from 6,000 years ago to today and around the world, you can actually connect archaeological, evidence and just the mythology and the conquest of different nations, and how that, like when Greece entered India, India's currency were little rods that they bent up, and they were just little metal. And then all of a sudden, there's a change, and they actually look like Greek coinage. You can see when the Dark Ages happened, we had the Byzantine Empire and the Roman Empire that made beautiful coins. The Roman Empire took from Greece and used the coinage instead for mythology, for propaganda. That's why you have every emperor was left and right, because they didn't have a detail, so the people knew when the emperor's face turned, it was a new emperor. Right? So after the collapse of the Roman Empire and the Visigoths conquered most of Europe, there's these horrible, ugly coins. Like human history is monetary history because it's in the coinage. But also, economic freedom is tied to individual liberty and individual freedom.
Amen.
Right? There's no separation. Because look,
it's amazing. Right, I mean, incredible. You have an incredible grasp. And it wasn't Pontius Pilate. It was Caesar. Give Caesar what is Caesar's when he threw the coin.
Yeah, you can give Caesar Caesar's, but there's going to be families when this dollar crashes. Is what the silver, volatility means. When that dollar crashes, these families are going to need to eat. And you can give Caesar everything you want, but you're going to need to feed your family. You need security. You need to get in metals, because this is a very volatile time.
So how can people come? Is your shop open all the time? I know that you were on the phone a lot when I was there. People were calling in. So how does that work?
We're hiring more people. We just interviewed somebody to be a manager for the store. We have 2 employees, and now we have volunteers who are helping us work the front because of how busy we are. So we're open Monday through Saturday. Typically, that's our normal hours from 11 to 7. This Saturday we're closing. Two of my employees, they're in CERT, and they have CERT training in the morning, and I have family coming from Spain, so we're actually closing this Saturday, but we'll be open from Monday to Friday from 11 to 7 p.m.
That sounds great. Everybody check it out. We thank you so much
Thank you.
for
You're
giving
so
us this
informative.
information tonight. This is vital
Yeah, I was a
information.
little tired, and I was like, wow, I feel like it was really worth the wake up for me, so
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. And we hope you're going to hopefully be at our event in March. We really haven't talked about that, but we're going to be putting out a big 25-year silver anniversary for Able Child, and
25 years. Wow.
25 years of advocacy for children. And
Amazing work you guys do.
yeah, so we'll keep in touch. We have to have CJ. We have to have him on again. What do you say?
Yes, definitely. We're gonna have to do some updates, because this cycle is just booming right now, and we need to stay up to date with what to do next financially to protect our people work their whole lives for their this, and now it could be all shattered, or you could gain a lot in this coming times. So that's how we shatter the narrative. So thank you so much for coming on. We got that event from Sheila we're looking forward to, and we're going to have Governor James Fish back with the Vero Beach Young Republicans in April. So there's a couple good events coming up. You guys just pay attention and stay focused. And thank you, Diaz, for coming on today.
Thank you.